Okay, so there's a little office park here in part of Lewis, Delaware. And you wouldn't even know it. This is the local newspaper, the Cape Gazette. And then there's a little second floor door here. And there's WRDE NBC Coast TV. So a rather low-key little entrance there. You don't see like big call letters painted on the side of the building. But it's we're going to check him out today and talk to Walt Barcus, who's the head honcho over there. So join me, shall you? Okay, Walt Barcus, what's your title?
Well, I have many. I am the newsroom manager, aka news director. In addition, I'm also the IT director, and I'm also the engineer.
Okay.
And anything else that the owner needs.
Okay, okay. And so you're in a little office complex here above the local newspaper downstairs.
Right.
Do you share any resources with them? Do they like feed you stories? Or?
No, but you know, we have a good working relationship with them, but we don't have a specific sharing relationship with them. Over the last our 3-year anniversary is coming up June 16th, and we'll have been on the air as an NBC affiliate then.
Yeah.
The station actually dates back to the mid 2000s.
Yeah, right.
And our general manager, who's also part owner, Bob Backman, he originally had the concept. He bought a low-power TV station that was analog on channel 59 and switched it over to digital channel 31. We originally went on the air as an affiliate of My Network, which is Fox's second network.
Okay.
My
Network TV. Right.
They were created when the CW
CW, UPN, and all that fell apart.
Exactly.
And they pulled their affiliation, and then Fox said, okay, we need to put something on Channel 20 and whatever.
9 in New York and things like that. So they created My Network TV. The thing about My Network TV is it's only 2 hours a day.
Yeah, in the evenings.
Right.
You don't have programming all day.
Right. And so we merged that with a network at the time called Retro TV. So we called it My Retro TV.
Yeah, right.
But Bob had bigger plans for the station even then. Bob signed an affiliation with the ACC for the ACC games, basketball and football. He also did something that I thought was brilliant. This area tends to be dominated by the Baltimore sports teams.
Yeah.
However, it's really a mix of Baltimore, Washington, and Philly.
Right.
You know, as I'm sure you know, Rehoboth is the nation's summer capital. I don't know if that'll change now with Trump. I don't know if he's going to be coming to Rehoboth, but Baltimore tends to gravitate to Ocean City, as well as Pittsburgh. Well, there's a lot of Pittsburgh.
Philly, you go over to Jersey side a lot, right?
Well, they have. But see, after Sandy, and then the Jersey beaches charge you to be on the beach.
Beach fees.
We've been getting more and more people out of Jersey, Philadelphia, and of course upstate.
So Rehoboth doesn't have any beach fees, huh?
No, there are no beach fees along the
which is nice, which is really
except for the state parks.
Yeah.
And so there's no beach fees. They'll get you with parking though.
Oh yeah, $10 for parking. Yeah.
So because this area has kind of been dominated by Baltimore sports, one of the things that Bob brought to us was a Philadelphia Phillies affiliation.
Right.
And so in the early years, we used to carry 42 Phillies games a season.
Okay.
And that helped a couple of ways. One is it got us on into a lot of sports bars.
Right.
You know, normally wouldn't put, an old TV program network on.
Right.
But then with the ACC in the fall and the winter, and then in the spring and the summer, we had baseball. That really helped us out.
Right.
Bob and I were standing around about 6 years ago, actually at the transmitter site. And I was working on something.
Now, your transmitter site is WGMD right now, right?
Right. We're on the tower of WGMD.
Right.
We're at about 300 feet right now. And we have our transmitter is actually in their building, and then we have some other equipment in another building we have. And so I was working on an audio problem or something, and I said, what this area needs is an NBC station.
Yeah.
And Bob said, yeah, we really do. Well, that kind of kicked the idea around, but what really caused the issue was when he was watching, I think it was an NFL football game on one of the out-of-market stations that's available in the area, and he's looking at it, and they actually had a problem where they went off. Mm-hmm. And he said, this is just not acceptable. So his new partner came in to the mix, and they started campaigning with NBC to get the affiliation. That took 2 years.
2 years.
It took 2 years of constantly going to NBC and presenting them with this, presenting them with that, presenting them with the other. They had a couple of concerns. The first and most important concern was, can you afford it?
Yes.
Because network TV is not cheap. You have to pay them for your affiliation.
And Comcast owns the NBC station in Philly, right?
Yes, they do.
They don't want you taking their viewers away, right?
Right. However, what they did see was that, number one, Comcast wasn't really dominating the market down here.
Yeah.
Because WBAL is in the market, as is WRC.
Right.
If you're in the Cambridge area or Salisbury, you can also get WRC. So he kept talking to them, and they finally said, I'll tell you what, if you can get coverage on cable, then we'll do the deal.
Okay.
Well, the reason for that is that the way television works these days is you have two ways of getting on cable and satellite. The first one is they pay you.
Yes.
And that's what you want, because that helps to pay for your affiliation fees and some of your other expenses. The second way is you could say, I want to be on because I'm the local station. And they can carry you, but you don't get any money. So we prefer to go the first route.
The must carry rule. Right.
And
you want to get a little bit of money, right?
Exactly. We're also, because we're what's called a low power TV station. We don't have some of the rights that full power stations have. So we started negotiating with the cable companies, and Comcast. Actually, when Comcast said they would put us on, that's when NBC said okay. Quickly thereafter, DirecTV added us, and quickly after that, Dish Network added us. Finally, by the end of the year, we were on Mediacom, which is the other major cable system in the area. To this date, there's one system we are not on.
Verizon. That's the one I got where I'm staying. I don't see you. I see BAL on there.
The problem with Verizon is that it's actually a couple of things. One is Verizon announced a number of years ago that they were not going to expand anymore. They're only going to offer the service where it's currently available. So there's a limited number of potential viewers. Actually, it's about 2,700. And if you look at the realm of the fact that there's 400,000 people on the peninsula, 2,700, it really isn't that a big deal. However, it is a big deal for our viewers. Because we constantly are asked, when are you going to get on Verizon? And we are constantly working to try to get them to make the deal. What's kind of interesting is that Verizon is actually paying WBAL to be on their system. And I'm not into the money side, but I would have to think that BAL charges a whole lot more
than what you would charge.
What we would charge. Their big thing is that they throw up at us that, well, you don't have any viewership in the market. That's not true. They're using statistics before we went on the air. How do you have viewership before you went on the air? So we're constantly working to try to get them convinced. The good news is almost all of Verizon's customers are within the footprint of our over-the-air signal. The one exception is they made a deal with a new retirement community in Bridgeville that's called Heritage Farms, or Heritage Shores. And of course, people at Heritage Shores can't pick us up, and they're not allowed to put antennas up. And even if they could, it would be difficult there to pick us up.
The digital signals are hard to get in fringe areas.
However, we are ever hoping that they will change their mind, and we are constantly working with them. We've actually presented them with a petition with several hundred signatures, and our goal would be to get all 2,700 to sign the petition.
Interesting. Hold on, let me just... Very cool. So you do local news here. You carry NBC programming, and then you have local news shows. So you do an evening newscast.
We have 3 newscasts Monday through Friday, 5, 6, and 11. Our 5 o'clock newscast is a lighter newscast. Obviously, everything is dependent on what's happening that day. If a major story breaks, we're obviously going to have it at 5. But under normal conditions, it's a lighter newscast. We're coming out of a program called TMZ Live, which is an entertainment type show that's done out of Hollywood, and it's very light. So what we're trying to do with that newscast is basically transition the viewers that we had during the day into our viewers for the evening.
Yes, yeah.
We then follow that up with How I Met Your Mother, which is in reruns now.
Yes.
And we finish that up at 6 o'clock with our local news. And that local newscast is more hard news driven.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
For example, our 5 o'clock has no sports.
Yeah.
Okay. Our 6 o'clock obviously does. The same thing with the 11 o'clock. The 11 o'clock is a little bit more heavy on national news because people haven't seen the national stories since 6:30. The same thing with the 6 o'clock. We'll mention a few national stories, but what we really want to do is we want to remind people that Lester Holt, who has the number one network newscast in the country, is coming up in just minutes.
Right, right.
And the other thing that we also do throughout the day, it's our philosophy that when a major story breaks nationally, we take the NBC feed.
Yeah, yeah.
Traditionally, stations in this market have not always done that, especially if they're in syndicated programming.
They lose money doing that.
Right,
Yeah.
and our point of view is people want to be informed.
Yeah.
And not everybody has access to CNN or Fox or MSNBC, so we want to jump to those stories. I know there's many places you can walk in around the area that have us on.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're businesses, and when something breaks, we're going to put it on the air.
Yeah.
We don't worry whether the other guys are going to do it or not.
Now, you got the olden days where everybody down here got cable and they got Philly or they got Baltimore or they got D.C.
Right.
Now you got Salisbury coming in. Now, BOC's an old station, so they've been around a long time, but they just added the Fox programming, and you've got MDT with ABC, and so now they're basically you're getting fewer and fewer of those faraway stations in this market, especially in the Rehoboth area. You're now seeing, instead of CBS from Baltimore or D.C., you're now getting it from 16.
And part of that has to do actually with copyright.
Yeah, yeah. You pay for NBC
We
affiliation.
actually pay for the copyright for this market. And each of the stations in this market pay for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what started happening a number of years ago, and actually WMDT was the one that started this, is they started going to the cable companies because that's where the multiple channels were. And they said, oh, wait a minute, we paid for the copyright for Good Morning America. You need to block that programming out of Baltimore.
Yeah.
And over time, Channel 2, for example, which has ABC in Baltimore, basically gave up.
Yeah.
Because they had so little programming that was actually ending up.
Right.
WBOC actually jumped on that bandwagon a little bit later. They kind of watched what MDT was doing, and they then started doing the same thing.
And you being a low power station, I guess you don't have that same
We don't have
right
that
to
same.
do. If you were a full power, you could go to the cable companies here and say, don't bring in BAL, we're paying for NBC, right? Yeah.
However, what the cable company has done, and the primary one is Comcast, is they realigned their stations a number of years, about a year or two ago. And what they basically did was they created a new standard def tier.
Yes, yeah.
And they have moved WCAU out of Philadelphia, which is NBC 10, WBAL out of Baltimore there, WTTG out of Washington.
So they still carry
WTFX there. And actually, we kind of prefer that.
Yeah.
And the reason is, if we were able to say, no, you can't, you have to block all this programming from Channel 10 or from Channel 11, people would be mad at us.
Yeah.
All right? We had no control over them deciding to make them standard def. And actually, it was an economic situation for them. It saves space on the cable. Because a standard def signal doesn't take as much.
Yeah, they can, right. And you've got tourists down here who like to watch their local news.
Exactly. One thing that we'll be doing later this year is NBC just announced they are negotiating for the affiliates with the new services that a lot of cord cutters are using.
Yeah. Oh, YouTube, Sling.
YouTube
and,
TV.
Yeah, YouTube,
Sling TV.
Yeah. If you can get on those platforms.
DirecTV now. And what's going to be really interesting about that is that it is based on your GPS setting. So, for example, once this is fully implemented, let's say you're driving down to the shore and you have a tablet and you want to watch The Blacklist. Okay, you want to watch it live while it's on. This program will go to us, not to WBAL or not to WCAU. The same thing if one of our viewers goes to Philadelphia or goes to Baltimore, you're going to get the local
station.
So that is going to also help because then you're going to have ratings for that. one of the things with ratings that has always been a problem here on the shore is that our population swells in the summertime, whether it be radio or TV. But those people don't fill out diaries for
Yes,
They fill out diaries for back home.
Yeah.
So, yes, we need to offer something for them. And I spent 40 years in radio. But you have to cater to the people that are actually going to fill out those diaries, those local people. So it's always been kind of a catch-22. You want to do things that the visitors are going to like because obviously the businesses want to draw those visitors in. But at the same time, you got to keep the locals happy. Because if you don't keep the locals happy, your numbers are going to drop and therefore you're going to have problems.
Right. Interesting. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the whole fact that you have here's your news set right here.
Yep.
This is where you do the news from.
That actually is our second channel, WRDE-TV.
Yes, right. And now there. And then what you do is the programming what you do here gets sent to some control center somewhere, right?
When we started the TV station, we had basically two choices.
Yeah.
There's really only two choices.
Yeah.
The first one is to spend a year to two to find the right building, to get all the equipment, to hire this full staff, to get everything up and running. Now, during that year or two, you're making $0, but you're spending a lot of dollars.
Yeah.
The second option was that there's a company that we deal with that is outside the market.
Yeah.
They work for a number of different companies. Matter of fact, Sinclair, which is based in Baltimore, they actually do the news for one of their stations in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I have a feeling that
they used to have that News Central, too, up there in Baltimore, where they were actually Morris Jones was doing newscasts all over the country.
And that may actually redevelop now that Sinclair is going to buy Tribune.
Yeah.
And I take it that in addition to the big market stations, they're going to get a lot of smaller market stations. So
you got Tribune doing a newscast for Channel 50 in D.C. out of Richmond, out of their Channel 6 down there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now they have the reporters here, but the anchors and everything else is done from down there.
That's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Our anchors are at a remote location. They anchor for us and for other stations. However, in addition to that, all of the local stories come from here. We actually write them.
Oh, yeah.
Bill is, for example, producing today. I produce several days a week. We are involved in the community. Our reporters are going out. We're developing stories, and we're packaging all of that. And then basically, they're just reading what we send them.
Yeah.
It's.
So you write a script for them, and then you do the story, and then send them the story, and then they basically put the newscast together.
We actually put it together.
You put it together, but they do it. Yeah.
They actually sit there in front of the cameras and they read what we've told them to read. Now, like I said, it has allowed us to get on the air much quicker.
Yeah.
The year that we went on the air, that next winter, we had the Olympics. For the first time in a couple of years, and NBC had it. We're also going to have it this coming year along, not to say the Olympics, but the Super Bowl. So looking at missing the Super Bowl versus let's get on the air. Now, over that 2 years, or almost 3 years, we started off with about 5 employees. We now have over 20 employees.
Wow.
So we have grown 4 times. I doubt there are many businesses out there that have grown
that much
that fast. Now, some of that is our sales department, but a lot of that is our news department. We originally started with 3 reporters. We now have 4 full-time reporters. We have a part-time sports reporter and a part-time, which we just hired, legal and political analyst, very well-known in the area, John Brady. John has been a politician. He was former clerk of the peace. He also was Register of Wills at one point. He also was the legislative attorney for the Republicans in the legislature for a number of years. He was an assistant district attorney. As I like to say, he knows where all the bodies are.
Yes, okay.
And has really given us a leg up, because when the legislature introduces a story, or we hear about something happening in the county council, we can go to him and say, what's the backstory behind this?
Yeah.
In addition to the fact that, yes, he's on the air and he's doing these stories, the other important part is the background he gives us and allows us to have a greater depth to the stories our other reporters do.
Right.
You know, it's difficult when you hire new reporters because, for the most part, they're right out of college.
Yeah.
And they come to an area that they aren't really familiar with. And so we have to mentor them. And that's a lot of what we do.
And this is a good place to train. It's a good place to learn.
Excellent place. In the last 3 years, we have had 3 of our reporters leave to go to New York City.
Wow.
Now, they're not working for the major networks. They're working for FiOS 1.
Yeah, okay.
But still, FiOS 1
it's a big market. It's the biggest market.
24-hour-a-day news network. And in addition, we've had one that has left and gone back to where she originally came from, West Virginia. We have another reporter that actually got a great opportunity in her backyard in South Jersey. You know, since Channel 40...
Right, Channel 40 was an NBC station, NBC affiliate, and Comcast didn't like that. I guess they were a little too close to Philly, right?
Well, it wasn't really that. The people that bought Channel 40, after many years of being on the air, they actually bought it. It's kind of ironic because they ended up not selling it, but they bought it to sell in the auction.
Yes, for the auction space,
and
right.
Then, for whatever reason, I guess maybe it wasn't enough money, whatever, they decided not to. So they were spending a lot of money to do local news, and of course they were looking at short term. They didn't figure they were going to be on the air that many years, so they would just go ahead and, you know, get rid of the NBC affiliation, get rid of all the local reporters, and, you know,
and just
put infomercials.
Just put infomercials, or someone pays them to run their network. Right?
Exactly. So they decided to give it up, and it had nothing to do with us actually getting NBC. It just happened at the same time, but they didn't pick us over them. This gave them...
But the other thing is, too, that station was technically in the Philly market.
Right.
South Jersey is Philly. You're in the Salisbury market, and there isn't another Comcast-owned station down here.
It's very similar to what happened out in Western Maryland.
With Channel 25.
They were an NBC affiliate for years, but they were part of the Washington market.
And they were taking some, I guess, a small, tiny sliver of audience from Channel 4. Right.
And so they decided to remake themselves now as doing a lot of local news. And from what I've heard, it's been successful.
I think the local news is the big kahuna. You know, that's the one thing you can provide that nobody else can. Do you see BOC as a competition, or are you doing something completely different?
We're doing something completely
different. You don't
different.
really cover Salisbury, right?
We do Salisbury stories. We do stories in all 5 counties. This area is covered by Sussex, Delaware. And then Dorchester, Somerset, Wacomico, and Worcester. We do cover all the areas. However, prior to us going on the air, I always saw this area as, for the other stations, kind of flyover territory. And the reason I say that is, they're both based in Salisbury, but they also are grandfathered in on the cable systems in Kent County, Delaware. And they have made, in the case of BOC, they're grandfathered in on cable systems all the way up the mid-shore and upper shore. So they really go out of their way to try to get advertising from those areas. And it does kind of make sense. If you're going to buy an ad on WBOC versus buying it on WJZ, it's a big difference. You're going to pay a lot less. And if you buy it on JZ, you're going to get a lot of people seeing your ad that are not going to ever come to your store.
They're on the other side of the bay.
Right. And would be the same thing in Wilmington, or Dover rather. If you're going to buy advertising on Channel 10, you're going to spend a lot of money just to reach a very small part of the audience.
Suburbs all the way up to Trenton,
So they have made a big push. Because we came later and because we're low power, we don't have the option of being on in the Dover area. So our signal actually is split in Milford. Half of Milford gets us, half doesn't. Because Milford is half in Sussex and half in...
And Dover's technically the Philadelphia market.
Right. Kent County, Delaware is the Philadelphia market. So we concentrate on this area, but I also have a slightly different philosophy on that, and that is, if you look at the people in this area, there's roughly 400,000 people. Of that 400,000, 210,000 are in Sussex County, Delaware. Of that 210,000, 150,000 are from 113 to the beach. So we really try to super serve that area. We don't ignore the rest. If it's a major story, I've sent reporters to Pocomoke. I've sent them to Crisfield. Crisfield and is Somerset County and Dorchester County are the two smallest counties.
Yeah, yeah.
They have 16,000 people each. But we'll send them there if it's a major story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm not going to send a reporter to a press conference in Salisbury that could really be handled by a press release.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, if it's a major story, we're going to be there. But if it isn't major, there may be something closer to home.
Now BOC's transmitter is technically in Delaware, right? They're in Sussex
Yes,
County.
actually, if you look, we have a great map here.
Okay, your transmitter's right here. Yeah, right at GMD, which is kind of just to the
kind of just
southwest.
outside of Lewis.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. WBOC is actually just west of Laurel, which is right here.
But they're in Delaware, technically.
Right.
Yeah.
And the tower for WMDT is over here in Sharp.
Okay, so
County.
yeah, that's kind of the center of the coverage area.
Right.
Yeah. So they're all, and I noticed that BOC's news, they do a lot of Delaware stuff. I mean,
well, they do now.
Yeah, lately they were doing all the whole Rehoboth Beach replenished, whatever. Yeah, I was watching their news last night, and about the first 3 stories were something in Delaware. Yeah.
They have definitely, now they actually have 3 bureaus. They have their Salisbury bureau. They have one in Milton, which the owner owns some property in Milton. Used to own a cannery there, and they've developed a housing development there, and they're in a location there. And they for years had a location up in Dover.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, it's right on the line between Dover and Camden.
Yeah, yeah.
On Route 13. But as you can see, this is the line that divides us.
Right, right.
And then actually Caroline County is part of Baltimore.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You come down and then Dorchester County.
So you've got the Salisbury market down here.
Right, and even down here, this is covered by the stations out of Norfolk.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I'll give you a good example. Chincoteague, which you can't really see, but is right here off the coast. We cover stories down there. We cover the pony swim. Why? Because a lot of people that are interested in Chincoteague come from this area.
Yeah, yeah.
In addition, Wallops Island, half of their employees live in Delaware.
In Maryland.
Maryland,
yeah.
So it's obviously important. And if you look at this 113, here's 113.
Yes.
Okay? All of this to the beach, there's roughly 150,000 people here. When you add the fact that there's roughly 20,000 in Ocean Pines, which is just west of Ocean City, you add what's in Berlin, you add what's in Ocean City, this county here has roughly 50,000 people.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we're serving this area, super serving this area, we're serving half the population.
Yeah.
Right there.
Right there.
And then, like I said, lesser populations in Dorchester and in Somerset. And Salisbury does have a good-sized population, but again, it's about half what Sussex County is.
Right. One of my nerds, which I don't understand the whole repacking and the whole, but they said something about your station because you're low power, you might lose your channel spectrum, and that you might have to piggyback with someone else. No.
Let me kind of explain.
Yeah.
In the major cities,
Yeah.
what the FCC did is they auctioned off 14 TV channels.
Yeah.
Actually 12, 38 to 50.
Yeah.
So any station that's in that range
gonna get
obviously
moved,
either had to sell out or move.
Yeah.
Because we're so far away from the major cities, that's one of the reasons we can't have a full-time signal, full power signal. You've got Philadelphia up here.
Yeah.
You've got Baltimore over here. You've got Washington over here, Richmond down here, and
you're
Norfolk
kind of
area.
surrounded. Yeah.
Right. We're surrounded. That actually, in our case, is good news. Because what it means is that there are going to be a number of TV channels that are going to be unused in this area.
Yeah.
Now, will we have to move? Almost definitely we're going to move.
Yeah.
And here's one of the reasons why. Inside baseball stuff. Channel 47 has to move to Channel 29. Channel 28 has to move to Channel 21.
Okay.
Channel 16 has to move from Channel 21 to Channel 32.
Oh, okay.
And Channel 44, which is Delaware Public TV,
Television, right.
moves to Channel 24. Now, currently there is a low-power Channel 32 that is owned by Channel 47.
Yes.
We can coexist very well because we're both low power.
Yeah.
However, you put a full power station over here on that, and that's going to cause us interference, and we have to accept the interference.
Yeah.
But we can also apply to go to another channel.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is we kind of have to wait till everything shakes out.
Yeah, and then figure it out.
Once the major markets are shaken out, once these stations' plans are made, we can then go to the FCC and say, we'd like to move to channel whatever.
Yeah.
And they will then approve that. We are planning on a few enhancements when that happens. When we originally went on the air, we were not quite to the full power limit of low power TV stations. We're going to apply to do that. The second thing that we're looking to do is we're looking to maybe get a little bit more antenna height. There might be a possibility of moving higher up on the WGMD tower, or maybe another tower someplace. Maybe that's more central.
How tall is that tower?
The tower is actually about 440 feet.
And you're at 300?
We're at 300. They have two antennas at the top. They have their main antenna. They have an auxiliary antenna, which actually served them very well because they took a lightning strike at one time. Their transmission line was damaged, and they were able to use the auxiliary during that period of time. But there's a possibility that we may be able to get a little bit higher on the tower. We haven't really discussed that because, you know, it's actually a couple years away. This whole process is going to take about 4 years. And the FCC has basically made sure every TV station has some payment. For example, in Baltimore,
13's going to 11.
And 13 has to move to 11. What?
Now, if you're on cable, you're not going to care. Nobody cares. There
will be no change as far as cable.
But what percentage of your audience is watching with an antenna? Do you have any idea?
If I had to guess, in this market, overall, it's about 5%.
5%. So really, it's a small amount.
In our case, I would say it's probably 2 to 3%. Because
it's hard to get that low-power digital signal.
Exactly. So there won't be a whole lot of notice. Now, one thing that I have talked to the owner about and that we are going to look into, I can't say we're going to do this yet, but there is a new digital TV standard coming out.
ATSC3.
And it is not compatible with the current systems. However, it has some advantages. One of those advantages is that it's IP based. The original standard was actually before the internet, when the internet was just being used by colleges and the government. Okay, so this is moving into a much better way of using the TV signal. That's going to allow for a couple of things. Number one, it's going to allow for mobile TV, something that they kind of tinkered with, but the old system just really didn't allow for it. The mobile TV will be an option. The second option is it'll allow us, if we want to go 4K. Which currently is not available with the current standard. The other advantage is that we could do 4K, an HD channel, and possibly 2 or 3 standard def channels. So it allows us to bring in more. Of course, there's no word that anything's going to happen anytime soon, but you know, NBC does have another network that is not out in this market.
The Telemundo? So you could bring in that.
We could potentially bring that in. So that's always a possibility, and there is a growing Hispanic population in the market. So what I have suggested is, of all the stations, we're the one that would impact viewers the least if we went to that standard, because there's a lesser number of people watching us over the air. What's probably going to happen is, as stations move to this standard, you will probably have to buy a set-top box similar to when analog converted to digital.
Or a new TV.
Or a new TV. Now, most people, because they already have a really nice HD TV, they may go for that route. And obviously, if you're on cable, you don't need to do that. It's just the over-the-air people. So we're looking at, you know, if we're going to have to buy a new transmitter, we're going to have to buy a new antenna, maybe more transmission line. What's another encoder? Why not just go ahead and do the whole thing at one time? So that is one thing we're looking at. And like I said, that's probably, if I had to guess, 3 to 3.5 years ago.
Okay. There we go. Also, your program stream, you don't have a control room here. So the remote location not only does your news, but they also pick up the signal from NBC and feed that all, and your ads all get placed in that. And then they go straight to the tower, right? Where they come through here.
They offer 2 services that we take. The first one is master control. They handle our master control for both of our channels. We upload the commercials to them. We actually, I don't think he's in today, but our new creative services director, Robin Hoffman, is our creative services director. He's the one that really is in charge of doing the local commercials and promotions that we do, things like that. So we upload them to an FTP site, and then they pull them out and put them into their system. we actually do the scheduling here.
Yeah, yeah.
And in addition to that, the other division is the division that does the newscast.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's all within one facility, and they actually, I believe, if you include the stations that just use their master control facilities and the ones that do news, I believe there's somewhere around 20 stations around the country.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of them are, secondary affiliations like the CW and things like that. But they handle quite a few stations.
Well, you look at even the big stations like DC. I mean, Channel 4, they have master control somewhere down in North Carolina or something.
Maryland Public TV no longer has their own master control.
Yeah.
It's all controlled out of Connecticut.
Yeah.
The same thing with
Channel
WHYY in Philly. They also, the only time those stations do anything locally is when they do their fund drives.
Yeah.
Which actually you could say is almost every other week.
Yeah. Channel 50, I think, has some master control out of Indiana or something. They don't even. They're like you guys. They don't even have like studio facilities. They have they can do their their news things, but everything comes from somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have some really good partnerships along the way. NBC 10 in Philadelphia has become a very good partner of ours. We share video with them. For example,
the Delaware police shooting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a vigil that was held in Georgetown.
Yeah.
And that vigil, the wife of the trooper that was murdered spoke for the first time.
Yeah.
We were there. We had it. We shared it with Channel 10, who then actually shared it with WRC.
Okay.
And we're more than happy. We've been in contact with RC.
So your reporting is getting seen in DC and Philly. Wow.
Right. At the same time, if they do something upstate, they cover it and they share it with us.
Right.
In addition, we also have a public affairs program that we share with another station that's licensed to Wilmington, which is the new Channel 2 there.
Yeah. Right.
And
I'm looking at the Cozy feed. Those are local ads, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
those are all local
those go in the Cozy feed, too.
Yeah. And, it's kind of funny because our advertisers have found that our Cozy feed is very beneficial to them. It really is. One of our biggest advertisers, who's been with us since before day one when we were just doing Cozy, is Rosenfeld's.
Yeah.
Great place in Ocean City. Just opened a place here.
It's right near where I'm staying. Yeah, I'm going to check them out. Yeah.
And it's really, really good. Warren is a great guy, and I'm really happy for him that he's open. But, he told us early on, he said, when I started doing ads on your station, he said, I had people coming in that were 3 or 4 blocks away and didn't even know we were here. Had been here for years.
Yeah.
And we really strive to get the feel of what's happening in the community. When we hear about something, somebody, for example, we had a local person who was in need of a kidney.
Yeah.
And her husband had created these billboards on a trailer and would drive them all over, trying to get awareness. We heard about it, and we did a story on it. Now, it wasn't because of us that she got a kidney. She, a couple of weeks later, got a kidney, but then she came back on and was telling us that she's doing wonderful now. And we really love those kind of stories.
Yes,
I have to send reporters out to murders. I have to
I
send
know,
them
it's
out.
nice to get the good stuff,
But we really strive to find those good stories because they're out there. And every area of the country, and you come from the D.C. area, and I know you know Alan Henney.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm always seeing Alan's feeds about different things that have happened. This person shot in D.C. and that person shot. People know bad things happen, but they also generally love their hometown. They love their local area. There's things about it that they just wish everybody knew.
Right.
And we try to go after those things. We do a couple of special features in our 5 o'clock news. We do Delmarva Pets. Abby Smith, who does our morning updates, is the host of that. She also does Growing Older, which this is a growing
community. You got a lot of older folks here,
And so, we do that show. We also, one of our first specialty shows was a program called Arts and Entertainment with Michael Sprouse. Actually, today is Michael's birthday.
Oh, okay.
And so Michael Sprouse, we met him early on, and we went back and forth, and we knew we wanted to do the show, but it was important to me that we had a sponsor for it. And specifically, why was because I knew it would be a great show, but I didn't want to start something and then be told at some point, you know, the newsroom budget's just too big. We got to cut it.
We got to cut it.
If it's sold, now it's in the sales.
Yeah.
So we got it on the air a couple months after we went on the air, and it has been very successful. Matter of fact, so successful that Michael now does a second show on Fridays called Coastal Cuisine.
Okay. A whole show.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like a 2-minute feature that we do in our 5 o'clock
It's in your news. Yeah.
And so each night of the week we have a special program. We actually are going to be starting another one, which I can't go into all the details about, but it involves our legal and political reporter, John Brady. And it's going to be an opportunity for viewers to ask questions. And John will research them and come back with an answer each week.
Okay.
And so we think that's going to be a really popular show.
Very good.